was meant to be the RAF's next great fighter, a single-seat 12-gun machine faster and more powerful than anything that had come before. Yet before the Hawker Typhoon ever really took flight, it almost destroyed itself. Born from the ambition to replace the Hurricane, the Typhoon promised blistering speed thanks to its monstrous 24-cylinder Napier Sabre engine, capable of more than 400 miles an hour. But that power came with a price. Pilots described choking fumes from the cockpit, tail sections tearing away in midair, and engines that overheated and seized after only a handful of missions. The Typhoon seemed destined to fail, another tragic footnote in the history of wartime aviation, and yet, against all odds, it would become one of the most feared low-level strike aircraft of the Second World War. The Typhoon's story began in 1937, when the Air Ministry issued a new specification for a fighter to succeed the Hurricane. Sidney Cam and his team at Hawker Aircraft took up the challenge, creating a sleek new design powered by the Napier Sabre engine, an engineering marvel producing more than 2,000 horsepower. The prototype flew for the first time on 24th of February 1940, and on paper it outclassed anything in the skies. Measuring 9.7 meters long with a 12.7 meter wingspan, it could hit speeds exceeding 400 miles an hour at low altitude. When it entered service in late 1941, it seemed the perfect answer to the appearance of Germany's new Focke-Wulf 190 fighter. But reality struck hard. The Typhoon's thick wings and heavy frame made it sluggish at high altitude. Its tail was prone to vibration and structural failure, and several aircraft were lost when the rear fuselage literally tore itself apart mid-flight. In one tragic test in 1942, Hawker's own pilot, Kenneth Seth Smith, was killed when his Typhoon disintegrated over Langley, negating previous beliefs that it was pilot error. Mechanics also battled with the Napier Sabre engine, with it suffering from abnormal wear due to dust ingress, leading to high oil consumption and premature failure, sometimes in as little as 3 flights. Pilots reported intense heat in the cockpit and dangerous levels of carbon monoxide, sometimes leading to unconsciousness. It was so bad that oxygen masks had to be worn at all times, even before startup. The Typhoon's troubles might have ended its story there, but war has a way of finding new uses for troubled machines. What the Typhoon lacked in finesse at altitude, it more than made up for at low level. Its incredible acceleration and speed just above the treetops made it perfect for low-level intercepts and striking ground targets. By 1942, it had been reimagined as a fighter-bomber, fitted with 2 500-pound bombs, later upgraded to 1,000-pound versions, and from October 1943, an arsenal of 8 60-pound RP-3 rockets was slung underneath. It would lose 38 miles an hour of top speed, but it was a devastating platform, striking fear into the hearts of Axis forces. They would mainly see use against buildings, trains and vehicles, most notably tanks, but on occasion were used against shipping and even U-boats. Later on, Typhoons would specialise between rockets or bombs, these platforms being nicknamed Rockfoons or Bombfoons accordingly. Its most affectionate overall nickname used by pilots and ground forces was Tiffy. Also during this upgrade, 4 20mm Hispano-Suiza cannons, manufactured under license by Birmingham Small Arms, replaced the 12 303 Browning machine guns. These cannons rendered even the famous Tiger tank vulnerable from top-down attack, directly leading to its up-armament in later models, with its roof being almost doubled in thickness from 25 to 45mm. Pilots flew cab rank patrols above the battlefield, waiting for ground forces to radio in targets of opportunity that the awaiting taxi, or in this case Typhoons, could sweep in to greet their next customer. There was, however, one more deadly irony. At low level, the Typhoon's silhouette closely resembled the German Focke-Wulf 190, leading to tragic friendly fire incidents. To solve this, black and white stripes were painted under the wings and fuselage in 1942, an early version of the invasion stripes later used on D-Day. When the Allied landings came in June of 1944, RAF Typhoons were at the forefront. Their rockets and bombs helped decimate German armoured columns, earning the Typhoon its hard-won reputation as the Allies' tank buster supreme. By the war's end, the Typhoon had evolved from a failing interceptor to a devastating ground attack aircraft. More than 3,300 were built, mostly by the Gloucester Aircraft Company, less 17, including 2 prototypes, that were built by Hawker. Pilots came to love its sheer power and the reassurance that despite its flaws, it could bring them home even after taking heavy damage. But the pace of aviation left it behind. The Typhoon was withdrawn from frontline service shortly after the war, replaced by the sleeker and more capable Hawker Tempest, a direct descendant that solved many of the Typhoon's early problems. It was originally known as the Typhoon II. Today, only one complete Hawker Typhoon survives, serial number Mike November 235, displayed at the Royal Air Force Museum in London. The Typhoon's story is one of struggle and redemption, from disaster in the skies over Britain to triumph over Normandy's battlefields. Tiffys remain a symbol of innovation under fire and the British determination to turn failure into victory.